Okay.
Right, you're being recorded. Don't say anything you don't want the public to know about.
Holy moly.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
I put in these cameras
Oh, yeah.
along with Zoom call.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am the note taker today. Note taker du jour. Get ready. It might be your turn next. I said I do it, but we needed to rotate this, so I'm not always the note taker. I will not always be the note taker. But. So it's recorded for posterity.
Well, I appreciate you doing it, but I've been calling about 4 times, so, you know.
We all have our basic skills, it's true.
Yeah.
I'm not calling you a shirker, but there's a different kind of a thing
Yeah.
that's needed for being the secretary. Let's see.
There was some concerns.
Okay.
So. I'll say it's got full camera capability.
Oh, wow. Oh, very good to know. Thank you, Elliot. All right, I'm not attending your meeting. I just came to do the Zoom thing.
Okay, could you do me a favor, though? Could you also send me, or have someone send me as a Word document, the last minutes from this meeting? Because it comes as a PDF.
Yeah, I can
It
do
comes
that.
as my packet, and I want it as a Word document so I can just build off.
Yeah, do that.
Okay,
Sounds good. All right.
thank
Have fun,
you.
everybody.
You
Yeah,
too.
thanks.
All right, Tim, have a good meeting.
Good, thank you. I have to go snag a pen, sorry.
I have one if you can't.
You have an extra?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do indeed. Welcome to Freedom Village.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:05. Roll call. Public comments, there's
No public.
no public comments. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes, I had one comment on the minutes, so should I do it now or do we want to?
Sure.
Okay, so under old business, the draft budget, maintenance budget discussion, the review of parks budget, it says there's 10,600 available. But then later it says, right, the next sentence, it says park project budget 33,000 spent this year, 2,000 left. So is one of those a different budget than the other, or what's the difference there?
So what happened was the parks project budget was an old, was set up a while ago with $100,000. This was a different budgeting procedure. And so at the start of the year, the fiscal year, of that 100,000, we would budget X number of dollars to use in that particular year. So
So that's correct then, it's just a different budget. I just wasn't sure about the discrepancy between the, I understand.
it was, yeah,
So it's correct.
it was a different strategy. And that 33,000 went to the repairs on the bridge there, just north of the firehouse. That's
Okay, great.
I remember seeing that. Yeah. Oh boy, that didn't take long.
Great. Just, it took a lot of money, but not long. Mhm.
Well, and if you walk a little further down, it's starting to crack again. Is that right? Yeah, if they put like a drain there. And so if you look at the road slants, the water runs off Blue Star, right down across the bike trail, and then down into that ditch down there. And when they built the bridge, they really didn't account for that drainage. And so there's quite a bit of water flow down there, and it was quickly eroding the fill. So that part collapsed, they're starting to break off. And there was a section there that was down almost 2 inches. The rest of it, the asphalt is cracking, not as bad as that area. But we went round and round with pretty Newhawk, though the architect, I can't remember their name. Anyway, they wouldn't chip in any money. Then we went to the contractor, they wouldn't chip any money. And this is a long discussion between the Blue Star Trail group and trying to work out some kind of deal. What we ended up doing was taking money out of our budget plus the Blue Star Trail kicked in maybe $10,000 or something out of their budget. And we got that part of it repaired, the closest to the firehouse. But if you look at it, it's the same thing is gonna happen a little further north. So in our budget again, this year, I think Dana put another 15,000 or some amount to sort of regrade that so the water will run in a little different direction.
So that was all that I had on the minutes. But I do also, if we're doing the consent agenda, I had a question about the budget, the financial reports.
Okay, so any other questions about minutes? About the financial?
Yes,
Okay.
and then just a question of, and maybe this is the way they do bookkeeping and accounting. What I'm going to be referring to is all the way over to the right side of the budget. There's balance, the available balance, and what percentage is used. So if you go down, you'll see that it says that what's for subcontracted labor, $7,500 is budgeted. And then it looks like none has been spent. Now, what you do is you have to add up which different parks and stuff, but what actually has been spent totally from that 75 is 78%. We're 78% spent, and we have $1,584 left. And so I'm just curious why it shows up as zero up there. And this may be something to ask. It's a 0% spent, when in fact we spent 78% if you add them up. And then similarly on the next, and that's for subcontracted, and then there's similarly, and this one's even bigger, if you look again, on available balance, you come all the way down to the available balance for repairs and maintenance, it's $6,000. And again, it shows that we've spent nothing. Well, we spent 6% of that budget. We've only spent like $360 of it, and we have $5,600 left. But I don't understand why it shows up as zero there.
Okay.
Can you explain that to me? or-
Yes.
Okay,
What happened was, and I think it was under Griffin, we kept saying, we got into this conversation about the bike trail. And when it became a political hot potato, people kept saying, well, how much do you spend on the bike trail? And because it was all rolled up into this last 3 digits, 000,
right.
we couldn't separate it by parks. So what Griffin said was, why don't we add a character? Because there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 positions that this thing will sort on.
Right.
So why don't we add a character here, and the 001, 002, if you go down and
Right.
look at these. And so what happens is, because then you go down here and you look at 001, and it appears that the 22, we've spent 100%.
Well, it's because there's zero budgeted for it.
Well, I know,
So, and I mean, I understand the math here. I just don't understand why we don't just see it as how much is actually spent of the total category.
because if you look down here, the way the program, I assume,
Okay.
works is, it totals
Yeah.
it by this
By these
number,
numbers, okay,
and there's no money, no total for this.
okay,
So all these expenses get added up. So what we really should do, I guess,
I could ask
Well, let's-
John this,
I-
yeah, ask the treasurer.
I
about
would
that.
suggest talk to John, because
Yeah.
they were working on the budget this week,
Mhm.
and this is the stuff that if we can have them adjust it while they're creating the budget, this is the time to make changes, because you're right, the municipal budgets, when they're done like this, are almost impenetrable to
Well, I do like the
Figure out what's going
idea of the separation of the different parks. That makes
Right.
sense to me. But then when you're doing the total, it seems to me it should show what our totals are. under those.
right, the
So I'll,
dilemma,
I can ask John about it. I can,
I think the dilemma we might get into is then we have to say, okay, how much are we gonna estimate we're gonna
Yeah.
spend on each park
right,
to get a percentage?
Mhm.
When this gives us more flexibility
Sure.
because we might spend more on one park. So they can say, well, you're way over in this park, well, you're way under in here. I don't know, but you're right, you can talk about it,
I'll ask.
but.
You know what I'm, Elliot, you know what I'm talking about here?
I'm following, I did.
Okay, I just want, we're looking at the same page, so it's
Medicare,
easier
I like
for
that.
us over here.
Yeah,
But it's
'cause
just, it was just, it may be just an accounting thing, and this is the, as you say, the way the program works. So I just want to
Yeah.
clarify that, because it'd be
Right.
easier to read if we could say, well, how are we doing on our subcontracting?
Yeah,
Plus all of this. So I don't want to take a lot of time on it. but
no,
just was
I know,
curious.
but it was an attempt to be able to go back through here and look at how much we're spending on each park.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay, I'll just,
So, yeah, but if you don't ask on this stuff. And, yeah, it's the way, their accounting system is a package that they buy from somebody that do municipal accounting. And so this was an attempt to get us the numbers we wanted. And the system may not be designed to roll it up the way we're trying to do it. I guess that's.
yeah, okay, that's fine. Those were the only things I had.
Because you're gonna go through here and every one of these is.
Right, then it's
100%.
right, and we're in deficit categories for
Right,
each
because
one,
we-
because there's
yeah.
nothing budgeted. but yeah.
Exactly, because we never budgeted it at that level, we budgeted at one higher level.
Okay, thank you for explaining that all to me, and I will talk to John to see
Yeah,
if it can be,
and
Makes
the
it a little
reality, yeah, see
simpler.
if John even understands it. 'cause
okay,
He may not be.
We're on the record. Of course, the treasurer understands
Yeah.
every line of the budget. I want to make that perfectly clear.
Okay, now, when we get down to the bottom, where we have 8,000 left, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. We've committed about 1,000 towards the bench,
Right.
and we have the potential, let's assume we approve the pre-Newhoff thing for the dog park. If that gets billed before the end of the fiscal year, that could be another 5K about. Our salaries, if you go back and look at the salary numbers, that's actually running a little low because we didn't spend all that money. Several months we didn't meet, we didn't have enough people. And we're gonna be, we've only got 4 of us here. So it's possible we may have at least a couple thousand, and if this ends up being next year, the 5K, then we'll have more than obviously a couple thousand. So the thing that I would like to do is come up with a couple items, like one of them is the dog park driveway. Needs to be regraded, the potholes need to be filled.
Yeah, I was there today, it's
So
so bad.
if it's okay with you guys, I will ask Lori to call Glenn and say dump a load of gravel and regrade
Yeah.
that driveway.
It's rough.
okay, for my note-taking reasons, do we need to do this, to approve the consent agenda here? Are we into a
Yes,
new
we do.
discussion?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's just finish we can finish the
Can I
discussion.
ask one question?
And then,
Oh, this is part of the discussion, okay.
yeah,
Wanna do
this is like.
And you said there's 9,000, but this is
I
showing,
think we should have a motion to approve the consent agenda and the minutes, and then a second And then we'll have a discussion before the vote. So I'll make that motion.
Okay, and I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay.
now you can ask your question.
Okay.
One of the lines is gas, electric, and internet. Where, are we paying for internet here? Is that what that is?
Frequently, what municipalities do is that they have an internet charge and they spread that across the different commissions. So like when we signed in today, we could sign in and get our packet off of our email at the township. That's part of that service. We don't have our own private internet. Because we have an HBO Max, of course, but.
Where are you looking for that? We are seeing the internet. Oh, that's under
Page-
gas mate.
Page 1/1,
Yeah, gas, electric and internet.
gas,
I
electric, and
see.
internet.
Gotcha.
It's also possible, again, that the system plugs in that term, the internet, gas, electric and internet. And none of it is actually coming out of our budget. It may be what you said, and it may be just the way the program
Works at
fills in the headings for that particular number. I don't know. I can't answer that one.
Save that one for John also.
Okay.
Yeah, or actually, you can ask Lori too, because she did
Well, yeah,
this.
they were working on it as a
Yeah.
team, so
Okay,
any one of them.
yeah, either one of those. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
So if there's no further questions, we want to vote on it?
Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
The next item, to vote on this RFP for the park proposals. So,
Yeah, I just have one other quick question, and that is, the budget, you asked and we approved to spend money left on the dog park potholes.
yes,
Does that just come out of, is there an old business where that can be stuck, or are you?
no, I think maybe I got ahead of myself. What I was gonna do, I was trying to point out that
Oh,
there is some money left.
Right, is that new business here? Is that parks? You see, it says we're gonna. Oh,
Yeah, that's new
It
business.
should be under new
Yeah.
business,
You can
okay,
just
that's
practice
fine,
it.
I'll stick it in new business, you don't have to
Yeah.
bring it up again.
I was practicing, but I wanted to get that in there because I'd like to do it now. I'd like us to agree that we could do it right now and not wait for our May meeting, I guess.
Okay, got it.
You have to keep, yes, keep me honest.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think we have to work too hard, Jim.
What he's really doing is helping keep me organized, so
Yes.
that's good. Okay, old business.
So as I think we all understand, the Discovery Center did not want to supply a bid for what we were looking for the dog park proposals. And we had the two bids, and I would move that we accept the bid from Preen Newhoff, being that it was substantially less, and I'm hoping that we can get them out very soon because it's as wet as I've seen it right now.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to get out there and figure out where we have to put PVC and some gravel bridges.
Yep, okay, I move that we accept the Newhoff proposal.
Second,
Okay, so we have a second, all in favor?
Hi,
Aye, okay. I will ask Daniel, I'll tell him that we agreed on this, and I will ask him to comment to connect with Newhoff and explain what you just said about the water and see if we can get them out there soon. So I will do that.
and then I will let the cross-country coach know. So when the gentleman from Preen Newhoff indicates he's available to come out here, I would like him to walk the site with the coach.
Okay.
well, like that. Yeah.
Well, I think that in their proposal, they have we can all walk it with them. One of the things that they list that they will do is walk it with us. to
Oh,
look at.
I assumed us, but
So I
I
think-
want to make sure we include.
Have the coach with us.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay, so I'll check with Daniel tomorrow. I'll send him an email, I'll copy all you guys and tell them just what you said. The next item is the park bench. Ken got a copy of the proposal
So-
design.
What they're going to do is that when they do the bench, there's 3 boards on the back. And we're just gonna have the top line that says Saugatuck Township.
Mhm.
It'll be highlighted in black. I guess it's new Roman font. And with your permission, I will sign on our behalf and get this back to Alicia. Because we're still hoping they can get us the bench by April 27th, so
excellent.
we would have it here. The other thing they sent me was estimates for shipping. If we don't want to go get the bench, of which Jim and I are gonna go get the bench, that's $70, which is about what we're gonna spend in gas to get there and back. But for 3 benches, it's $254, 6 benches, $272, 8 benches, $294, and it goes up. But I think I'm pretty sure that we could take 5 benches at a time on a 4x8 trailer or a 4x8 pickup truck. Cause they're like, what do they say, 150 pounds a piece?
Yeah, and they would load them.
Yeah, they'll load them.
Yeah.
So, or maybe just 3 at a time, because for $254, I'll spend the $70 in gas, and we've got 200 more to work with for doing other things, kind of would be my thought, but, so that's good to know. The one thing I would like us to think about for the next meeting is how many do we order for the dog park and how many do we order for River Bluff? Because we should have a number in mind and not have more donations than we have places to put benches. And
Okay.
so that's the one thing. And then the second thing is, if this takes off and is successful, do we want to also offer the option, because we already have it in our ordinance, that if they want to order the picnic table in the matching design, color scheme, they have those also. So, we need to walk the parks and kind of get an idea how many of the old wood benches we're going to replace and how many more we're going to add, especially at River Bluff on some of the new trails.
Right, and the bench right, or the picnic table right out here is pretty beat up.
Right, so that is,
That.
should we get to the end of this period, even after grading the parking lot, and we find that we still have enough money there, we could order our own picnic table out of this year's budget.
Mhm.
Yeah, do you remember how much the picnic tables?
I want to say they're like 1,400 and our ordinance calls for 2,000. Some assembly required.
Just quickly back to what we'll all say. You say they'll say Saugatuck. What are they gonna say at the top? Saugatuck?
Just Saugatuck Township.
Just the township. And then underneath is where people would put the other names, or is
No,
that?
they have their option of putting whatever they want.
Right, so the one we order and you're picking up,
It
all
just-
of them gonna say Saugatuck Township?
No,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
we could ask for that, but,
I thought we wanted to be able to get them with people's,
yeah, so
Dedication of it.
the thought was to order this one so they
This
could
one.
see what the print size, how much room there is. And Alicia is going to give us a form that we'll have online and here, so people could come in and if they want 1 line, it's this much. If they want 2 lines, it's more, and 3 lines, it's more. So the more verbose you are, the more you get to pay.
Are these going to be like personal dedications or
Yeah.
Yes, like,
business
They,
donations, you know, if somebody in town wants to donate $500 and have their company name put on there.
I think what we'll do is we'll print off the wording of the ordinance that we have, because I think we have the right to approve or disapprove what is being submitted. So if something was offensive or,
right.
you know, just in bad taste, we don't have to accept it.
Is this actually in our ordinances?
I believe when I read the ordinance that.
Or is it in our bylaws? Where would
It's
it
in
be?
we wrote a donation policy.
Okay, it's in our
Yeah,
policies,
a few
okay.
years ago.
So, so we'll have the flyer and the policy in our hands at the next meeting. And then we'll also have an idea about how many benches we're going to, like, for the first round, we'll say, we want this many.
The only reason I'm asking that is if you wanted that many, do you want to already know what the dedication, when you pick it up, does it already have to have that dedication on, or does that get added later?
Oh, no, when they order the bench, they have to tell us what the dedication
Right.
is.
So how would you be picking up 4 or 5 benches when you don't know what the dedication on them would be?
Well, this is what happens is that they send this back to us. So
Right.
when the people come, they lay out the dedication on the bench and the people have to come in and sign for it.
I understand that, but we out of our budget are ordering 1 bench
Right.
out of our budget.
Right.
So to have the rest of the money, you have to have, and the designation, you have to have people already saying that they want these benches.
They want,
Donate.
so they have
That's all.
to write the check and then they have to come in and approve it
Right,
afterwards. And
So-
then they make the bench and we pick it up with the printing.
but you're not waiting until we have 4 or 5 people before you go pick up a bench, or are you? You're talking about going to pick up 5 benches, and I just don't.
No, we're just picking up one.
Okay,
We're gonna
okay,
pick up one bench. And
in the
then,
future,
and then when the people, when the throngs come rushing the building.
I actually do. Do you,
I think it'll be popular.
do you remember when Saugatuck Douglas, when they redid the barrel? And you could dedicate a plank?
Yep.
I put down that I wanted to dedicate it, and they were all sold out. The dedications were all sold out. So I actually think there are a lot of people that we wanna.
That had a lot of historic.
How much was a plank to dedicate?
Oh, golly, I don't know, $300 or something like that,
So I
400?
wonder,
500?
because we've got this donation policy that says $1,500. But if we got, 3 or 4 or 5 $300 things, we could buy a bench. And could we put, it seems like we have one person in the queue who wants to put a bench at Amalantra Park once it's.
I saw that.
Yeah, so beyond that, if we had a lower amount, like I would give $250, but if each of us gave $250, we could buy a bench for the park.
Well, the other thing is we
We put a
maybe,
park commission on it,
well,
then you wouldn't, yeah,
either that or we want to add the matching trash bins, the matching dog bag dispensers. They have a lot of.
They have a lot of different things.
So we could look for other things
So
that
if,
people could donate to.
if people just want to donate, once we get that money train coming, well, they want to donate.
Well, I think setting our priorities, that might be what we want to do in the next meeting, is looking at all the different possible things people could be placing. What are our priorities
Right.
for, we don't need 12 dog poop things.
No, but
I know what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah,
I would like to start with the bench, keep it simple.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then
let's just do that.
if we can add the picnic table, and if we have a glorious problem with people throwing money at us, we'll face that problem this summer.
let's
Okay.
think about that in a little different. So at River Bluff, there's a couple picnic tables that probably shouldn't be replaced.
Mhm.
So should we say, well, we can get a treated wood picnic table for $300 or whatever it is? Should we replace those?
I would at least start by, let's just put it out there
And see what happens.
and see what happens.
Yeah.
And if we have kind of response that I think we kind of all think is gonna happen, we will just get rid of the old tables and it will look new and pristine.
And and they'll last a long time.
Right.
And so I think
yes.
you're going for the quality. Yeah, I think we should do that. And I honestly think, I can think, for instance, my women's quilting group that doesn't quilt. Maybe as a group, we would go in together for a table and it would say women's quilting group. Some Saugatuck or
Friends
something.
of the park.
Friends, whatever.
Yeah, but you have to add the second line, then the second line, who don't quilt.
Who don't quilt, that's what the quilting group is, but we eat good desserts and have great conversations.
That's right, that's right.
That's at least three.
And that will make people stop and think like, what the heck?
Okay,
It's a good problem to have.
so do we need to vote on that? Do we need a vote on that final design?
We need a vote to approve the
Final design for the park bench.
the park bench design.
Okay, I so moved.
Okay, and I second it. All in favor?
I shall sign it on my behalf.
She also, just today, there was a thing for a flyer, she's working on a flyer.
I know, she sent me the one that had the city of Saugatuck logo on it, and I'm like, I will get you the Saugatuck Township logo, and they're gonna incorporate that,
Okay, the one that just came today.
yeah.
Okay.
Because I couldn't open up the original one that she sent me, it called for an app that didn't exist, so.
Okay. You ready for the swings?
Okay, the swings.
Actually, you have,
Okay,
the chairman took care of this problem.
okay, I've got the wrenches. I went out there Saturday and I took a little bar. I thought, that little U-clamp. I thought if I put the bar here, put a little extension on the thing, I could turn it. But what happens is, as you turn it and you pull, you've got all these different joints, the chain, that thing is U-shaped, and it starts twisting every which way. So I almost feel like what we ought to do, I've got a big vise at home. So if we could take the bolts off the top, because that looks like just two wrenches. And then we could take the whole thing down.
Yeah, put it in the
And
bench.
then I could take it home and put it in the bench, the vise.
Sounds like a work study meeting for a minority of the board.
Okay, so,
So I'm gonna say Jim and Ken are going to fix the swings. And
And then what we're going to do is just buy some coated chain.
I'm not putting all that in here.
I know, but we have the tools, so we are going to
Got it.
hopefully in 1 month have nice new chain.
I admit I hadn't looked, are they rusted through?
Yeah, well, they're rusty. Well, plus they're too high.
No kid could get on those swings. Let me just say.
well,
Maybe that was the idea.
I mean, part of the problem is that we need more mulch, the wood chips.
we've missed a couple of years of where we should have had that built up a little bit.
So, that will help, but this way, if we have, the problem we have right now is that we can't even adjust it because we didn't have the tool to undo, it had a security clamp that was defeating all of us. But Jim is taking care of that problem.
Okay,
Okay,
just a thought, mulch is not gonna do it because the first kid swinging is gonna kick the mulch right out from under there, but so it might need more ground, rototill, so ground, getting that ground
Right.
solid there. Anyway,
yeah. Yeah, the mulch is like a safety thing. If they go flying off the swing, they land on.
something softer. Oh, so it goes further around. Yes, right.
All right, yeah. Okay. The maintenance budget. So if you go down here and you got it out of order. If you look at the very last page, what I did is I went through here and came up with a 22.5, which is the first line. Our current amount is 17.9.
Mhm.
So I raised it to 22.5.
Mhm.
And then I went down through here and went through individual items that I thought we should budget for. So in the dog park, the fence repair replacement, 1,200, grade the parking lot, 800. If we get it done this year, it saves us that.
Mhm.
$1,000 for the porta potty, $3,050.
Mhm.
River Bluff, and then this is our first trail as you come down the hill, where we always get the erosion. So do a little more grading there. Remove all those dead ash trees that when you first drive up and you look straight towards it, there's all those trees.
Mhm.
Replace the swing change. Ken said we can do that for $100.
I think so.
A porta potty and 2,100. The bike trail, I had an estimate of 70 cents a foot. So I put down 1,500 feet crack seal and refresh the striping at certain areas, like in front of the Napa place. I think there's some stripes as sort of warning. So it's been like 5 years since we restriped those. Okay, so then I added those up. We came to jump back up to the total maintenance item, 7,150. So I added 7,150 to the 1,700, and I came up with 29,600. So does that add up?
Is it on here somewhere, 29,600? Oh, I see it, okay, the total, that's,
Yeah, is that?
that includes the
14.
22,500 and then plus everything below?
Yeah, the 20, I was trying to make this so it would, I could show it to John.
The porta potties, Jim, they,
3.
It's gonna be more than 29,650,
Yeah,
it should be more like 33 or something.
maybe I forgot to add in
I can get that, correct.
$2,000 for the
Yeah,
porta potty.
Do you want me to get the correct number?
3, 5, 6, 7, that only comes to 34 or 24 or something.
I got a price of $110 a month from Septic Tank Systems out of Fenville. They would,
that was my question is. maintenance.
septic, okay, let's
'Cause I
see,
think they do once a week, once a month,
once a week,
once a week.
oh, that's great,
once a week. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go over there and just get something in writing. Because I had another quote for 125 a week. But she told me the second time, 110 a month. I wanna make sure. I won't be surprised if it's 110 a week and she's just misspeaking,
Yeah.
but I wanna make sure that, and it's a 2-month minimum. But we were thinking Memorial Day to
Labor Day,
Halloween,
Halloween.
because
no,
Yeah, we-
no, you got it right,
just about when the trees are
Got it.
turning.
it's right,
I think that would,
you ended up correctly,
Yeah, right.
you got it, it's all correct,
I'm right, okay.
you're right, it is 29. Because you have your totals there.
Yeah, so, okay,
Yeah.
the 22,500, the 7150 adds up to 29,650, okay.
so you were right.
You were right.
Yeah,
Good.
I just kept looking at that 17 and I couldn't, something's missing, but I forgot that. It was looking at the
Looks
wrong
good.
number. Okay, so that's what I was gonna submit to John, if it's okay with you guys.
Absolutely.
Okay,
You want a motion to that?
sure.
Motion to approve the maintenance budget for 2022-23 as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, now we go back to this other one. I talked to John about this one because he wanted some numbers. He was gonna meet with the board or something, so he asked me about this. So I went through and said, if you take the 50,000 for the dog park, the 20,000 to expand the parking area, and then the 5,000 for they were meeting with Aaron from New Standard, and they wanted some numbers to throw out to him. So 5, 50, 60, 70, 80. I think I gave him about 80,000. So the question becomes, if we go through this and we prioritize that, is that, and the 10,000 down here for the sidewalk repair
Right.
down there, no motorized trail. So I think what I'd said was 50, 60, 70, 80,000. And I guess I didn't add in the 5,000. So what I would like to do is go through and have us all agree on which ones are our priorities that we want to put in this year's budget. And then some of these smaller ones, maybe we could do out of our maintenance budget. So let's have a discussion. What do you think?
Well, I think we have to fix that, the 10,000 by the Blue Star Trail, because there's no sense in applying to the state of Michigan for $1 million when we can't take care of what we have. So we should probably make that number one to make sure that stays.
I would think that, because I'm a fan of the dog park, the dog wash area and drinking fountain for 5Gs, that can certainly be put aside. That's a kind of a nicety that really isn't necessary. There's a faucet there for the dogs to drink.
Right, we could add a little hose with a garden.
Yeah, I mean, you put anything on there, just put like a Siamese connection on there.
Right.
And with half a garden hose and you're fine.
I would say if we're going to the township and they're thinking about what they're doing with the money, I would just say that whole 80 grand on the dog park is like number 2.
So the whole thing,
Yeah,
the whole tamale.
and then if the other thing is that we're gonna have a profit margin on our benches, if they go as we hope, if we take some of that profit and use that to like redo the decking on the bridge, that's really the worst. I'm not too worried about the new swings. We're gonna fix that. The
Right.
porta potty, we're gonna cover,
We've got that
and
in
the
the other
bench
budget.
location. So the only thing that's left hanging out there,
Oh, yeah, potty potty should be taken out of here then, shouldn't it?
Right, yeah, see that,
Move it.
Dana had put that in this budget, so it's actually in the other budget.
Yeah.
I put it in the maintenance budget.
so I would probably say the 5,000 would be the third priority.
Just within Rubber.
Yeah, and then that obviously makes the master plan 10,000 or number 4.
And that probably, if, assuming they get the grant, that construction probably won't start until,
The following year.
2000.
The construction of the,
Blue Star?
Yeah, the Blue Star Trail. If you think about the time frame, this is summer of 22, summer of 23. We could do our study. They could start building the trail before we develop this park. So we could do our study in the 23 budget, not this current one, but the 123-24, and then actually develop that park in 2024.
Well, we're gonna know, everybody will know by the beginning of December if we're getting the grant. And once we know we have the grant, then next winter, we can look at, for the following year, we want to, as you say, start developing it. If we have funds that we haven't spent from this year, we can use that for a master plan next year.
and you're talking here about the other improvements, $100,000 here, what are you talking about?
Oh, the 10,000, this last one down here, or not the last one, but this
The
one.
10,000 for the amateur park.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the budget goes up until the end of June. So actually, you might, this year's budget ends, I think in
June 30th,
June. So when, it's kind of a misnomer to think of 22, well, think of 22, 23 going up to the beginning of next summer. So is there something that we need to know before that building season begins? Do we need, or maybe we could make the decision of somebody coming in.
Well, we can't do anything as far as designing it
Until you see where the path goes?
until we know that they have it and they've designed it.
Okay,
Because the other thing is that I assume that once the grant goes through, the engineers will go back out and resurvey the property and make sure that this is where we're putting the trail, this is where we're putting drainage. And all that has to be done first before we can decide that
Sure.
we want to put a rest, some benches here or a water fountain here. It's
I get it. Okay, so that has it's a lower priority. If they've got a lot of money this year, you can put it in the budget.
Well,
See if they'll-
we can always add it back in, we can always go to the township and say, since this is moving so well. And the other thing, maybe Blue Star has some money left over that we can say, these are the improvements we want to put along the trail. Will you contribute?
Mhm.
well, and if this guy Aaron actually comes through from New Standard, it's possible we could get 25, 30, 50,000.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll figure a way to spend it.
These guys, but we obviously can't plan on it.
Right. I mean, Dana was telling me that some of the new bathrooms they've built along Lake Michigan for Port Sheldon Township, I guess is what it's called, are like $250,000 for a concrete block building.
4 million?
No, a quarter of it, $250,000.
4 million,
We could build a pretty nice house.
I know, I almost fell over when he told me a concrete block building with some toilets is $250,000, but there's more to it than that, obviously, but I won't pick on Dana when he's not here.
The plumbing, that's expensive.
I'm just, all I'm thinking is they've asked us for priorities, so I wouldn't take anything off the table. I'd put it in as a priority. So that if we get it budgeted this year, we have that money, it'll be next April, we'll be just like we are now. We'll say, okay, look, we still have $20,000 in our capital improvement budget for the rest of this year. Do we see some other place that we're going to spend and we'd like to spend? So I wouldn't take anything that I see here because they're all important off the table, but just a lower priority.
Right,
So amateur parks stay in there,
Yes.
but it's a lower priority.
well, so I have the non-motorized trail 10,000, we have to do that, because there's no sense in letting it go.
Yeah, we got that as 1, 2, you have dog park, and 3, you have the repairs to the wooden bridge
Yep.
boardwalk.
Yep, and then 4
That
for
was fine.
amateur.
4 would be that part, yeah. And then I would go ahead and put a 5 for other improvement, I wouldn't take it off, because I think Dana was big on this too, and I think this is really true. I think we should be looking at possible purchases of properties along Lake Michigan, for example, so that we would have the potential, and not that we're going to for sure purchase these right now, but I think we need to kind of look at those things, and also possible purchases along the Kalamazoo River Greenway. So in other words, I think,
You want a number 5, future.
yeah, I
land
want 5
acquisition?
for other improvements rather than
Then
taking
we
it
will-
off.
We will add that immediately, young lady.
Thank you.
And the interesting thing, Andy Diaz rents a house off Wiley Road that the property backs up to the river on the south side. So if you stand at the dock at River Bluff and look across the river, there's that big undeveloped property.
Mm,
And he told me, a guy from California who owns his house that he pays rent, owns a lot of that property. He lives somewhere down.
Yeah, I'm
On
further
the
up.
other side,
Well, that, and I was talking to a neighbor who has 600 feet on the Kalamazoo River. And at one time, there was a discussion between him and the people in Douglas that they were gonna buy it, which is 600 feet of Kalamazoo River. And he quoted a figure.
Right on the river, on the.
And so,
Yeah, that's my point. I think we need, because these are gonna be snapped up by people who wanna build their McMansions on those properties. And if we wanna, and a few McMansions is fine, but if we wanna preserve larger swaths of land, we need to be looking at those now in anticipation of possible.
either that
possibilities.
or, the other thing that I would like to do this coming month is walk along Lake Michigan, because now that there's a beach.
And look at property.
And look at property, because if there are properties where the home is going to go,
You mean fall into the lake?
yeah. I'm pretty sure in Ganges Township, there's one that went, because there's a big opening that looked like there was a house there, and now it's been.
Yeah, south of, just a little ways south of.
Right, so if that starts to happen, I would love to be standing there saying, all right, you're gonna tear the house down, that doesn't mean that we can't use it as an access point to Lake Michigan, which we don't have right now.
Right, right. So I think that, yeah, so it's in there for 5,000 plus, and the reason why it's important is if a property comes up, this is exactly, if it's along water, this is exactly the kind of property where we might only need to come up with 25%, and we can get money from the state for the other 75%.
Yeah, the same grant that they're going
Yes.
for with Blue Star
Right,
has a separate category called land acquisition.
that's right.
And they love municipalities scoring lakefront or riverfront water access property.
So I actually read exactly what they say in the state thing. And I'm going to be attending 2 sessions on the monies for that. And Dana already is an expert on this. So Jim and I talked about putting this specific thing on the agenda for the next meeting to talk about what those priorities are, so we can begin to think about that and look at the.
Yeah, and I just read Ottawa County, like 78 acres, or they got a number of $1 million of property on, it was an old sand mine, property up towards Grand Haven, on Lake Michigan.
Mhm.
And the problem is in Saugatuck Township, if you go along, it's hard to find property that doesn't have the big bluff. I mean, the Presbyterian camp was
Mhm.
perfect.
It was perfect. We should have had that,
It
but anyway.
disappeared, but, yeah, the amount of Lake Michigan property in the township that's available is pretty slim.
Mhm. But you wouldn't necessarily need a huge spot, because one of the things that Dana brings up is if you walk down, if you walk down to the beach on, say, Oval Beach or Douglas Beach or whatever, and then you can just, and maybe eventually our Sundowner Park or whatever, and then you could walk along the beach and then come up at another location. So you wouldn't necessarily need, 1,000 feet of, but it might be a smaller amount, but where it has a little, park benches and stuff at the top, but would allow people to do that little circuit or to.
Well, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try to get from Oval Beach to Douglas Beach. And we'll start with that one.
Mhm.
And then the bigger trek would be to make it from Douglas Beach all the way down to that first beach in Ganges Township.
Pure
From
Cove.
Pure Cove, is that in Ganges?
Um,
Or is that's not ours, no. Oh, that's an Ottawa, that's an Allegan County park, isn't it?
the
Pure
Pure
Cove?
Cove, no, it's Ganges Township.
Ganges Township, okay.
In fact, Dana, he spearheaded the grant to redo that, and the fellow that lives just north of it, I can't think of his name now, but they're getting an extra 100 and something feet just north of, including
Oh,
the creek,
nice.
a little north
Mhm.
for Pure Cove.
Somebody, oh, that's great.
Yeah, so they're, yeah, I've walked when the lake is down a little bit, I've walked from Douglas Beach to Oval Beach. I mean, it's a nice walk, you know, and,
So I'm moving that we accept these priorities as we've set.
I'll support.
okay. So we've got one, the
One is non-motorized trail, two, I have
is the
dog park,
Dog park,
Three
three
is
is River Bluff,
repairs,
and four is Emma
Rancher.
and five is
other improvements.
others. Okay.
Land that wise.
Okay.
Land acquisition.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Hi,
Okay.
Yeah.
So next item.
Status, Julie, oh, you're gonna tell us how Julia's doing.
Oh, okay. She came over the other day to my house. She had one more form she had to have signed. I talked to her of a plan. She'd like to do this in May, is what she's hoping for. And she would like to schedule one, two, or three of us to go out there and meet her, and she would just walk through the. So,
Yeah.
so she's
Yeah.
ready, she's excited, and I said, we would help you. I said, we have some volunteers that would help you get stuff out there if you need some help.
So I would say just set up a date with Julia and then let us all know and whoever else can join.
Yes.
So if
And
it's
and
you
we'll
and
schedule, we'll
Julie,
schedule it as a work study meeting.
yeah, we,
So
yeah,
that way we're not,
or we can
violating.
go, it turns out we can all be together on such a thing. I've already been on we've been on a field trip to Outdoor Discovery Center, as long as we don't discuss and make decisions as we're there and walking along,
Right.
that's all.
Right, and if we have a meeting, like, we got paid for that special meeting we had. So there's no sense paying us to
Yeah.
do that, so
No,
if we just meet.
all right,
So, okay, so I'll coordinate that with her. Now, as far as everybody's schedule, I'm gonna be gone from the 19th to about the.
Oh, you're talking about when to schedule with Julia,
Yeah,
okay.
I was thinking maybe early May. With her.
Mhm.
Okay.
We all don't need to be there, so just
Well, I'll
you
schedule
just
it.
schedule it, and then those of us who can make it will join you.
Right.
How about that?
and again, I've got a really large pickup truck, so if she needs to transport these steps, so to speak, I'll be happy to volunteer to use that truck.
Okay, I'll tell her that. Okay, the 911 gate, Jeremy Ludwig is the guy's name, who's the director of the emergency services. He said he sent their facilities guys out there. They looked at the gate, and the current gate is too heavy for those posts back there. So he said he's ordered a new gate, it's back ordered, he hopes to get it by the end of April at the latest. And once they get it, they'll install it and move the gate back to those posts. He said the problem they had was they had ATV, people with ATVs were back there. He said at one point they even tried to pull the gate out because they were like to run around back there. The reason they put it where they did was to block it to keep those people from getting back there. He said, I'm concerned if you guys plan to put trails out there and do some stuff, that those folks will go back out there and tear the whole place up.
Mm.
So he said, you may want to think about posts or like we have a river block
Mhm.
to keep people from running around back there. We probably should put some signs up there. I don't know whether we should talk to the neighbors. I haven't noticed a lot of tracks recently, but there were tracks
there were
in
trying.
years past.
So I think if we let Glenn know, he seems to know, there is a house on 62nd, I believe, that it seems like they would be the ones who might have that type of vehicle. And I think if we just explain it to them that this is what we're going to be doing here, or maybe have Glenn do it and just post it. No off-road vehicle use.
Mhm.
And if it becomes an issue, we contact the sheriff's department.
Or you need to put a camera out there that shows you who's going. If it ends up really being a problem, we might end up wanting to do a security camera.
Well, there's that, or we just tell everybody in the dog park that if you see them, go get them.
Let your dogs loose.
I'm out there with German Shepherds, okay, fetch.
He's got a tracking dog. So
There you go.
We'll post trail marker.
I have a very fierce Jack Russell, so.
Okay, so that's the status, it should be moved. I could go, you know, this place right over here has made little signs for me, they're relatively inexpensive.
We need one anyway.
Yeah, of course, we were waiting for the logo.
So now we have the logo, we should get our sign announcing our fabulous part of Kalamazoo River that nobody knows about.
Oh, you're talking now about
River
River
Bluff.
Bluff?
Yeah.
And the sign where it should be out by the river,
Out by the,
right, so the people who aren't voting could know that.
right, you can
that's the
stop here,
location. Stop here for lunch.
because if you go up those steps, that's where we have the covered area. We have picnic benches and it's sometimes good to get out of the boat or kayak at that
Mhm.
point.
Just got a new roof on that shelter.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk to Glenn and then let me just go ahead and get a couple signs made that say, you know, no.
No off-road
or something that we could post.
Non-motorized, yeah, non-motorized only. Actually, non-motorized would include bicycles and trail bikes. Are they allowed? We haven't decided yet whether they'd be allowed on trail bikes.
Trail bikes won't be able to run back there where the sand is, because I think it's just too soft.
If we make it as if we make it though as a cross-country trail, there wouldn't be any just sand.
Yeah, we would.
Something to think about. I mean, what kind of signage we want there and what's allowed and what's not.
I would say let's think about the signs and let's start with our sign for the river. And then if there's a problem, we'll address it with signage. It may not be a problem because if there's that many people out there, I don't think that the quads are running there because there's nobody out there, right?
Mhm.
And now you open up the gate where people can know that they can walk back there. I think once people start walking it, I don't think that.
Right. It's possible, because I was even thinking that maybe this is an old problem, because that gate's been there for a while. Maybe it's a problem. Because you know, you walk around back there, you'll see old shotgun shells, you'll see, you know, because people have gone back there, but it may be old stuff that's been back.
And so how are we referring to that park these days? Is it's just this area north of the dog park? Is
North
that all?
Park, the North Park, we'll call it.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
have.
it should get a better name than that at some point. North Park signage.
Okay. So we'll delay that and see what happens once
Okay.
once the
Right.
thing gets moved. Okay. Parks walk to identify current. I put that in there because if we would each take a little bit of time and walk around the parks and see if there's some small things, like I mentioned the trees at River Bluff. You had mentioned that broken bench that we should get out of there. That we could do, and then if we get to May and we still are running under budget, and it looks like we're not gonna get billed the 5K until the next fiscal year,
Right.
we would have a list of things we could get done.
Okay,
Well, as I shared with you, I went out with John Vanderbeek and we added a third loop. So if you go to the very end of the trail along River Bluff, turn right, we started putting flags up there, knowing that we're gonna have to walk it a couple times and modify it before we start doing the work to cut up trees and remove things. And we may need another Eagle Scout for one part of it. put it in a budget for next year,
Well,
Eagle Scout
If
project,
she does a good job, we could hire her.
yeah.
Well, I think at this point, what you're doing is putting flags, because I think it should be walked by us and approved. You know, that we say, yeah, this makes sense. Because sometimes you don't want to put a trail somewhere because you'd rather leave it just open and natural, you know what I'm saying?
Well, the only reason I was interested is that I'm trying to get to a point where you can walk out to the end and back and not retrace your steps.
You're right, sure,
So that would
if it works.
be a loop with a couple points where they have to come back to the main trail because we crossed like the bridge. But well, in the next month, go out there and walk it. And maybe if we're out there, we'll walk it. And
Okay.
there's one spot that's steep, and I know Jane helped us find a better way down, and now we've got Julia to
Put some steps in.
put some steps in, but that's a work in progress. By the way, if you ever schedule a walk with John Vanderbeek and you think that it's raining, that does not stop John Vanderbeek from going out and setting the trail.
There's a couple of spots there where it's very easy to fall down, it's steep going down.
Yeah.
There's one part of the trail.
Yeah.
Kind of canted, my dog pulled me down there, I had him on the leash. And, he got a little anxious and went down.
Yeah, some of it's gets a little muddy on that. Yeah.
Well, I think he thrives on it.
Yeah, I think he does.
And John, if you're watching, you do thrive on it.
Yeah, and he put signs out, like I'm sure there were his signs. I went, because I sometimes walk up to the water tower and walk down to the lake. And then there's those trails. He's got signs, I believe there is trail this way and trail that way. And so he puts sign, we were talking about signs. John puts little arrows, and I assume he's doing that.
So that once we decide on the trails for River Bluff, it wouldn't hurt to have a sign at the beginning of it, I'll write up the parking lot saying, this is the trail system, and you have the upper trail and the lower trail.
I think there is something, isn't there something like that there already?
No, there's a
Yes.
history lesson.
Yeah,
there's
there's nothing that just shows what the trail actually looks like. Huh?
No, there's not,
Okay.
there's somebody, how when you take a router, lower trail, upper trail, and there's a couple arrows pointing.
Yeah, but it would be nice to, once we have it laid out where we want it and the steps are done, it would be just nice to celebrate the whole thing with, so this is what's there.
Right.
Right. Well, if you go down, like from Mount Baldhead, if you head down, there's a trail that goes to the south and a trail that goes to the north. There's two little maps there.
Right, so
To tell you.
you are here.
Yeah, the You Are Here maps. We'll think about that.
Yeah.
At this point, it's such a small park.
Well,
You're not getting lost
and you
in
can
that
see
park.
the whole thing.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And of course, you always see the 911 tower, so you can't get too lost.
If you're going out, the river's on the left. If you're
Yeah.
coming back, the river's on the right.
Yeah.
As long as you can hang on to that piece of knowledge, you're good.
Now, I don't know whether this would ever happen or whether this cooperation would happen, but when I went through that park and I got all the way over as far as I could, down right by the river, almost to go underneath the bridge.
Yeah.
It made me think of all the river walks that I've been on that have actually had a trail that goes underneath the bridge and then joins and starts up on the other side. And I thought, wouldn't that be great if you could actually do that and walk to the other side of that? You could walk into
But
town from
then
there.
you have to figure out on the other side, as you're coming into the city of Saugatuck,
Mhm.
will those people cooperate? Because then you have to have access back to get to at least Blue Star Highway. So yes, we could get to the bridge. And I don't want to think about the negotiations would be with the
Yeah,
Department of
because-
Transportation to.
There'd be all kinds of possible things, but I just looked at it and I thought, wouldn't this be nice?
Yeah.
Just imagining. Okay. So we're all
Okay.
set with the new business.
Okay. Manager report, he's The commissioner's report, you know, we already talked about park maintenance things. And I mentioned the parking lot at the dog park. So I'll try and get that done before our May meeting. And is there anything else that
Did we want
you
to
guys
say?
can say anything? now,
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
The only other thing I have is, I have, and I didn't bring it tonight, I was going to. We have an April 19th deadline from the clerk to get our nominating petitions in.
Oh, okay, good to remind us.
And it's a minimum of 3, maximum of 10 signatures. And
You brought yours
I'm
with?
told that the maximum is strictly observed at a great risk to your own personal safety if you show up with more. So,
Thank you for that
yeah,
reminder.
just make sure you get.
Does everybody have their,
I have my, do you have your,
No,
so you need to pick it up from the township
Sure.
office.
Lori has it.
just check with Lori.
Okay.
She'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Nominating petition, it's called.
Yeah, you have to have a nominating petition with the signatures, then you have to fill out your application to run. And then you are going to have to apply to the county to have your nominating committee. And I am speaking from experience that there are times and frames to file your reports. And that if you don't file them,
You
it
can't
gets
do it.
expensive quickly.
Mhm.
And especially since I am not planning on spending any money on my hard fought campaign that's coming November, and I doubt you are, but the idea of paying a fine because you didn't report that you spent nothing. Yeah, so
Yeah, we'll follow, thank you for that
Yeah,
warning and
And I
we'll
think
we'll
if
get our
you
things.
pick a party, then you'll be on the primary.
right,
If you put it in as an independent, then you won't be on the ballot. for
You
the
don't show
primary.
up until the bell. And I'm wondering, is that a different deadline then? Because we're gonna have to get our things in so that we're in time for the primary. But I'm wondering if,
well, we'll
if-
only have a primary runoff if more than 6, we have 3 positions open. So for a primary, 7 people would have to apply for our 3 positions, because it has to be, the general election, you could have 2 each. But if a 7th person runs, then you have to have the primary to get
wouldn't that
down to
be,
6.
but what if there were 2 that, yeah, 6 in the same party or something to be on, anyway,
Will they put you on the ballot? If, say you put Democrat and you're the only one, will you be on the ballot?
I don't think
the
you'd be on the
primary?
primary because there's no primary election. There's no, you would have to have 2 Democrats.
No, I
running.
think that's not true because somebody could do a write-in. I think that if you declare you're gonna be on that, August primary,
That's what.
because, if I'm, suppose I am a Democrat, so if I put down that I'm a Democrat but I do believe that our party politics have nothing to do with the kind of work we're doing, so in some ways it makes no sense to have to declare party.
I have already filled mine out and I'm putting independent because I
Is it
agree with you
really-
wholeheartedly. Party politics has nothing to do because we're actually accomplishing things.
Do they have a slot for hypochondria?
The hypochondriac
I'd like to run
party.
as a hypochondriac.
I think
Well,
you'd be
I was
right.
gonna go with liberal Republican or conservative Democrat.
Yeah, conservative
They
Democrat.
didn't like that either.
Oh, well, so I assume I'll put down a party, but I don't know.
You know what, we should all, you gotta check with Lori and I'll stop in. I still think I'm gonna put down independent, because I don't want to drag party politics into this because it.
It's
Yeah,
really not political.
No,
Yeah.
No, but when you bring party politics into this level and you have a Republican and Democrat, it's almost expected for the 2 of them to disagree. And, I never want that to be our practice here.
I can't imagine it ever being our practice, but anyway, I agree. So we should, but you should find out and make your own choices, I guess.
Right,
Okay, but we are the only
Paperwork
three
done.
that have to fill it out because otherwise normally, just because we've been appointed. If once we're elected, the election happens every 4 years during at the time of the presidential election.
right.
So we run now, and then we'll need to run again in 2024. We'll all be running, all of us will be on the ballot then. But if we choose to continue, whatever.
What, give all this up?
Okay.
I pay.
So we're doing.
The glamour?
Yeah, I was shocked that we're paid. That was kind of a nice surprise. So it's the commissioners reporting now. So I did, as I mentioned, I did go and read the statewide comprehensive recreation plan for 2018 to 2022 online to find out what are the priorities for the state. So I just wanted to share something with you because just to know the reason why it makes sense for us to align ourselves with what the state priorities are when we can has to do with funding and getting funding. So some of the kinds of things that they thought were advantageous, and I went and looked at them, were if you create printed trail maps. I think there might be funds to help that, but trail maps, places where beaches are, lakes are, boat access, if you have the green spaces, indoor rec facilities, nature centers, so that when you think of recreation and think of it more broadly, if we had a kind of a recreation map for the township, it would have all these kinds of things on it, sports fields, ski slopes, I don't think we have any of those, harbors and marinas, shooting ranges. I don't know if we even have any shooting, but just, a recreational map that would be useful for anybody who lives here to say, let's go, shoot a few baskets, or let's go play tennis, or let's go, hike some trails. There would be a recreational map available. So something.
You forgot one of the great sports, pickleball. I mean,
Actually, they did mention pickleball, and I did not write it down. But yes, pickleball, golf courses. But just something, as we think of ourselves more broadly as parks and recreation, we might think, what are the things we can do to facilitate that? And that might be something to create such a map. We might want to put in and it might be an online map so that it can change easily if things change. But in any event, that would be one thing. They are particularly fond of collaboration, and that's something Dana has talked about, that if we get together with Saugatuck and Douglas and the township to put forward some proposal for something, that is looked on really
that scores higher.
favorably. Yeah, the major goals, these are the 7 major goals: to foster conservation and stewardship, to improve collaboration, to raise awareness, to improve access, to provide quality experiences, and to things that have health benefits. And number 7, I thought that was kind of interesting, was prosperity. To make us healthy, wealthy, and wise, I believe, if you wanted to summarize that.
We're happy here.
So they talk about how important time in nature is, and it gave the research on that. They also advocate and are supportive of educational programming about nature. And when we talked about signage we might do in the future, suppose there are particular kinds of trees on a trail that you might have a little information about, naming the trees as they're walking along, or so in other words, incorporate more nature education into some of the parks and the things that we have would be good. Heritage trails, they're very interested in any kinds of trails that have a history associated with them. And we do have some of those in the township. In fact, our property backs up to at least one. Let's see, I looked at that. They're very interested in programs that bring together the recreation stakeholders. So at some future time, we might want to have a meeting where we have the Parks Commission, where we have people who are providers of recreation, the different exercise, I'm thinking now of the exercise gyms or whatever things, schools, volunteer groups like the bike trail people. It would be very interesting, I think, if at some point we scheduled a kind of open meeting and invited stakeholders that are involved in recreation of various sorts. Outdoor recreation could be the people who are doing the kayaking and, some
Well,
and paddle boards.
Because I'm waiting to see what happens in Douglas, because they have changed their vendor.
Mhm.
And the vendor was there, has taken his building and left.
Mhm.
So it's Third Coast
There's a new,
is the new vendor.
right.
And I assume that we're going to see something down there fairly soon. Cause I assume they're gonna want to start renting kayaks at least by, May 1st.
So moving, it's gonna happen, and so it would be on this recreational list that we're having. Trails are a strong priority for them, and they especially like ones that have loops. So, considering how we create loops.
Ahead of the curve.
They talked about transportation links, and I thought this was really interesting. I don't know that our interurban has a bike rack on the front, but it should, because if it did, then people who wanted to bike from outside somewhere and end up, say, in Saugatuck, could take the interurban with a bike rack, put their bikes on the front, get on the interurban, it would take them, and then possibly pick them up at the end of the trail. So looking at drop off, pick up, transportation circuits, I think is something we could think about in the future. This organization too, the comprehensive recreation plan also actually does water pollution issues. So they also work with farming, and we have a lot of farming in our area, and non-point source, which is like doing pollution that comes in off of the farmland and so forth. They also are concerned about that and protecting wetlands. So again, when you think of possible future projects or granting things, if it's something that helps along the greenway there, the Kalamazoo Greenway and the wetlands, to protect the wetlands, they would be very high on those kinds of things too. Okay, so that was my little report. I know that
Very interesting.
we can discuss in more detail, and I commend the Michigan statewide comprehensive recreation plan to you all for your light reading. It's online, and as I mentioned, I did sign up for a roadmap to successfully accessing funds to Land and Water Conservation Fund. So I will be, and what I'll do is I'll put the website link for any of the rest of you might be interested. And Dana already works with them a lot and is quite familiar. So, but I thought it would help to have at least one other person on the commission that might be familiar. And so as I read this though, it gave me great ideas for how we might move forward and do some really great things of getting people out into the environment and sort of take a leadership role to bring together the people who make this such a wonderful place.
And the thing you did mention with the three communities, Saugatuck and Douglas seem to have more money than we do, but they don't have any space. The township has a ton of space. And, if you could, and I think about softball fields,
Mhm.
Where you could set up a thing where you had a restroom and 4 diamonds and you could bring people in here for softball tournaments and stuff like that.
Softball / with the soccer next to it.
Yeah, right.
And then,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, the kid, like my grandkid in Grand Rapids, there's a park that's got several softball fields, baseball fields, and then several soccer fields, and then it's got a bathroom in the middle.
Right.
And you go there and it's really busy, but the cities don't have any room for that. But they've got kids, and the community rec guy told me, he said, because I was talking to him, Scott, I can't remember his last name, but he was saying, none of our soccer fields are regulation. We don't have any room. So, those fields that they have, the only one they have is the one at the high school.
Mhm.
And then at the grammar school, they have the baseball field, the varsity baseball plays there.
Are those open for just general recreation use too? Can
I think
anybody
you
go
have
and
to
use them?
schedule it through the school.
Yeah, I don't know how
And you know, you talked about stakeholders, that would probably be one of the first ones to invite here. Because.
The schools.
Yeah, because what you have is that we do not have a Parks and Rec department running something.
Right.
Saugatuck doesn't, Douglas doesn't, the school does.
Yeah, they have this community rec.
Right.
So I guess maybe the person, because I was trying to see if he was interested in putting a full soccer field in, or at least a little kids field at River Bluff. And once we have the porta potties there, I firmly believe that if we found the money to put in a couple soccer nets in there, the teams could use it as a practice field. I mean, even if that's not one of their quote fields, because they're, I think it was Scott Kurzik, wanted to keep, he likes having it all at Schultz Park because you've got multiple things going on there. So families, they've got one in baseball, one in soccer, you know, they're not in different fields.
Schultz.
They're all at Schultz, but Schultz is there as far as, you know, there's no more field to develop. So if we get to the middle, our meeting in June, and we can get a couple little kids soccer nets, and put those up there, I imagine you're gonna start seeing kids use it, because even if they're not playing games, fields are hard to find just to have a practice.
Well, Dana talks about with his kids, they try and schedule the pee-wee baseball with them.
Yeah.
They go all over, quite a ways away, so it's like a park where they can play.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it sounds like this would be a good thing to do for us to consider getting on our agenda to begin to organize stakeholders recreation. But I think talking to the folks in Saugatuck and Douglas too, it makes sense. To
Yeah.
try to get.
Well, I would go talk, chat with them anyway, because once we get the report from Preen and Newhoff, there is a trail at the bottom of the dump site, between the dump and the freeway, that is just about ready, it's already there. I could take you to walk it, but there's a trail that goes out. So there's trees here, a trail, and then a road that comes back that looks like Consumers Cut for the power. So there's already about a half to 3/4 mile loop that's just sitting there. We just need a minimum bit of work to be able to use as a trail without going over the hill, which has to, one of us has to figure out between Saugatuck and Saugatuck Township, who's gonna test those PVC pipes.
We have
Because
to
they haven't-
test on there before you
because
really put people out there.
Well, you can't use that hill, but Consumers has been going back there for years, and they, according to the report that I read, there was nothing about ongoing testing.
Yeah, they stopped. Right, they stopped the testing of that area. I thought you checked that.
Yeah, that's what we found out, but that, I'm still not comfortable saying I want to start, you know, running up and down that hill before, you know, if we don't need those PVC pipes, let's take them out. Then the hill comes into play.
But whose is it? Is it Saugatuck's or is it the townships?
It's the city of Saugatuck.
Right, so we can't be taken out
Well,
there.
we can't do anything without, we have to go talk to them. So which is what you just said, that we need to talk to these people.
Hey,
Got anything else?
You'll get us the link to that.
I will, to this,
I'm very
yes,
curious
to both, okay, so I will put the link to the comprehensive plan
Right.
and to this course.
Please.
Mhm. In fact, I might just send it to you in a quick separate email, because I could do that tomorrow. I may not get these minutes.
Sure.
But
Sure.
it's really interesting. It's a good plan. And since it's from 2018 to 2022, it means that they're going to be revising it this year too. So hopefully.
Other than that, no.
Well, then would you like a motion to adjourn?
Okay. So we adjourned at 6:30.
Yeah, very good for us.
Oh, give me a card.
We'll go there. But a lot of the barns are not heated. So you wait till it's warmer.
Oh, sure. Right.
Okay, and I'll get this, budget to John, the capital improvement budget, tell him our priorities. Send him an email and copy you guys.
What happens at the township level?
Right, thanks, Jim. Thanks for a well-ordered meeting. Easy to take notes.